Grinch or Santa? Santa. Fantastic. Welcome to the pulpit, your referees and their team of technical officials. The referees for today's events, Jens Christian Everson, Leslie Huckins. The starters for today's events, Kazumi Iguchi, David Cooper. The Technical Swimming Committee commission for today's event, Chairperson Craig Hunter, Vice Chairperson Theodora Yuan, and Honorary Secretary Jay Thomas. Technical officials, you may now take your seats.
Commission getting some chips.
The spectacular skyline and some of the finest wineries in the land. The Mornington Peninsula, just perfect. That's for later. Back to business. And we're at the Melbourne Sports and Aquatic Centre, just a few kilometres from the CBD, where it's got to be said life is not too bad either. It's day 4 of the 16th FINA World 25 metre Championships. I'm Mike McCann. I hope you've been enjoying the coverage over the first 3 days. They have been absolutely spectacular, record-breaking, passionate wins, so much joy for the home fans, and the Americans are making their mark now as well. With me is Bobby Hurley. Bobby, it's been terrific, hasn't it? And we've got another wonderful day in store. This is what is ahead of us. Of course, heats this morning, and we'll work our way towards another big night of finals and semi-finals in about 7 hours from now. Yes, we're going to start with the freestyle relays, the mixed 4x50. That's a great opportunity for the smaller nations. Women's 1,500 metres, they'll be the slowest heat. We'll have the fastest heat tonight. So plenty happening over the course of the next little while. The United States, as I mentioned, making their charge. They had a wonderful night with 5 gold medals last night, taking over from Australia, who won 3. So 9 gold to the USA, 8 to Australia, and that battle will resume. But plenty of countries have been amongst the medals. What about last night, Bobby? Boy, there were some terrific wins.
Yeah, I think the best night of finals racing I've seen at the World Championships over the past 5 years. Emma McKeon kicked things off. Another gold to the host nation of Australia in a tight finish over Siobhan Haughey. We'll see them line up in the 50 freestyle again this morning. And Carl Chalmers made it 2 in a row for the Aussies. The Olympic champion from 6 years ago, claiming his first ever individual world title. The women's 200 fly. The United States responded after 2 golds to Australia. They went on a tear to win 5 of the next 6 gold medals last night. Dakota Luther in the 200 fly, Chad Leclos 2.0, getting the 2nd gold medal of the meet for South Africa. Before we just saw a gold rush to the United States. Lily King in the women's 100 breaststroke. Nick Fink followed suit as well. So the Americans taking the breaststroke double. Fink there with a victory over Monteneghi from Italy, and Adam Peaty here in Melbourne racing in the short course format. Really good to see. The fans really love to watch Peaty race. And to conclude the night, the sprint relays, Kieran Smith prior to that taking another gold for the United States in the 400 free. And the US women, big upset over Australia. Kate Douglas on that anchor holding off the flying Emma McKeon. And probably a relay we'll be watching for a long time to come. An electrifying finish from Chalmers there. Nothing in it, 400ths of a second. And the Australians finished with a gold medal on night 3.
So we finished last night with relays, and we're going to start this morning with relays as well. And this will be very exciting indeed. The mixed, I mentioned the mixed a moment ago, Bobby. 4x50, so it's the shortest of the relays, and this more than any other, more than the medleys, gives the smaller nations, those with smaller teams, an opportunity to take part in the relays. 2 men, 2 women, and it's freestyle.
Yeah, the mixed relays really open up an opportunity for those smaller teams to form a strong quartet. And we'll see 4 full heats of that relay to kick things off this morning.
Yeah, well, that indicates it, doesn't it, 4 heats, more heats than we normally see, and that's because it's the mixed 4x50. There are the officials that have just been introduced who will be overseeing the competition, and they will be keeping their eyes on every element of the swims of every swimmer. The mixed 4x50 freestyle relay, world record set in China by the United States at the World Championships, the 14th World Championships they were back in late 2018. So the team's coming out. It's interesting, there's no particular seedings in this event. We've got in the first of the heats Australia, and they'll be in lane 2. You've got Palau in 4, and the last of the heats, well, it's difficult to see any of the teams making it through to the final in the last of the heats, so it's upside down. There's the start list for heat number 1, Australia, Papua New Guinea, Palau, Colombia, Japan and New Zealand.
Yeah, no entry times for these nations. The Australians, no mucking around this morning after they missed the mixed medley relay final. Emma McKeon will swim in the heats on the last leg. There she is on screen, already a multiple gold medalist here at these World Championships. Southam, Temple and Wilson also on that Australian team. But the time's important. They not only need to win this heat, they need to post a fast enough time to qualify for the final.
Day 4 underway now, so all of these teams, bar Palau, are starting with male. Palau in lane number 4 with the 2 females, then the males. Southam for Australia, Kawani of Japan.
Yeah, Southam at the top of screen, not off to the best start, prefers the longer freestyle distances. The New Zealand team, that's Carter Swift leading things off. Just going to get touched out by Japan. Kawani getting the Japanese team out to an early lead.
So now Zach Dell for New Zealand, Kawamoto of Japan and Temple of Australia. Of course, Temple and Southam, members of that sensational gold medal winning team last night.
Yeah, really good turn there from Temple, as is the Japanese team, strong in their male freestyle sprinters than we've seen in the past. The Australians still in third, but they've got a strong back end here. Maddie Wilson in the water now, starting to move through to the front.
So Wilson, also a gold medalist here in the relays. And she is just about in front at the moment, down towards the bottom. New Zealand in 7th. This is Moynihan and Igarashi of Japan as we get to the last of the changeovers, and Australia's taken over. McKeon to bring Australia home. Godwin, New Zealand. Takahashi, Japan.
Yeah, well, this is why McKeon was asked to swim the heats, because they've got to guarantee themselves a spot in the final. And she opens up that lead, so she can't go too easy this morning, McKeon. It is only a 2-lap dash. She's putting up body length on those teams, New Zealand and Japan. Now Australia will take the first.
And in a time of 1:29.82, New Zealand second home, Japan third.
22-9 split there for McKeon. What a good backup after competing last night. Really looks great in the water. Only took one breath there through that whole 50-metre race. As we wait for the team for Palau, finishing off there in 6th position.
McKeon, she looks so cool and calm. She told us last night, though, that perhaps looks can be deceiving.
Yeah, she always seems composed. Not a very emotional person or an emotional swimmer, so she does bottle that up on the inside and has really figured out how to channel that into producing her best performances, like we saw in Tokyo last year and again here in Melbourne. A really clutch swimmer when it matters, and 28 years of age, really continuing on career best form over the last 12 months or so, probably 24 months. She's been on the Australian team for 12 years. She first competed at the international level in 2010 at the Dubai World Championships.
Australia, New Zealand, Japan, 1, 2, 3. Australia with the only sub 1:30 time there, heat 1. Swimmers coming out for the second of 4 heats here. Some big-name teams, the United States and Sweden, and also Brazil. There's the start list for Heat 2. USA and Sweden in those yellow lanes 4 and 5. Brazil in lane 8. South Africa will put up a really good fight here. They're in lane 3. So more depth in this second heat. Cassis to lead off the Americans, who go Cassis Armstrong, so male, and then Hines and Walsh. South Africa starting with 2 males as well. Likewise, Brazil and Sweden. So all the lead nations here putting their were firing their shots, their big shots early, starting off with the first two legs, two males. Hoff of Sweden, Cassis, the United States. And then you've got Peugeot of Japan down there in lane number 8. Of Brazil, I should say.
Yeah, I'm sure Cassis is looking to post a time leading off this morning. 21.37. So it's a very strong opening split. Hunter Armstrong in the water now. The big, long American backstroker, but really fills in well on these freestyle relays. Strong showing so far from Brazil. That's Spiari down there in 8, and moving through now is the team from Sweden. They're just sitting on the United States' feet at the moment.
So the United States leading Brazil, Sweden third, and then South Africa in fourth place. We're up to the third leg now, and the women come to the fore here. Natalie Hines swimming the third leg for the USA.
Yeah, Hines really stroking out long. She's such a tall swimmer with a powerful kick behind her as well. So she opens that lead up. It's by about over a second. She's going to hand off to her teammate, Alex Walsh. She's going to finish this off for the United States this morning.
And it is Diamante finishing off for Brazil. They're swimming down there in lane number 8 for Mal of Sweden, and South Africa with Dracopolis as they bring it home now. And this is Alex Walsh with the United States. Now the time's going to be interesting. The Australians recording a time earlier, much the same there. In fact, just a touch quicker, I would have thought, the Australians. Let's have a look. Australia went 1:29.82, and that was just a fraction quicker than this time by the Americans. Brazil second.
Strong race there from the United States. Taking out heat 2 of the mixed freestyle relay. They'll look for a complete swap tonight for their team in the finals. No doubt Curzon and Douglas will come in on the women's side, and for the men's, probably David Curtis and maybe Michael Andrew. They were off the podium last night in the men's 4x50 freestyle relay, which is a big surprise. Andrew, on paper, is their fastest 50-metre sprinter, but wasn't even in the makeup of that team. And a great turn there from Alex Walsh. Very versatile swimmer.
Heat 2 going to the USA from Brazil and Sweden. Once again, just one team sub 1:30. So the Australians with the quickest of the times so far. The United States second. Time's all important, of course, to determine who will make the top 8 and swim for the medals this evening. The field for Heat 3 with the Netherlands and France in 4 and 5. The main dangers to that pair, you'd think China in 7, maybe Slovakia in lane number 3. For the Netherlands, it's Pierenberg leading them off again with 2 males at the head of the relay. France likewise with Manadou, China with Pan, and Slovakia and with Dusha.
Yeah, we haven't seen a lot of Florent Manadou so far at these championships. Look at that powerful straight arm stroke. He's going to race the 50 freestyle heats after this swim this morning. Gets things started, 21-1. Nice lead now for the French. And Rousseau's in the water, so a really strong front half for the French team.
Rousseau it is, Castagna of the Netherlands, Slovakia, Hallas, and China have Wang. As they get down towards the halfway mark now, and the females, the first of the females, De Ward of the Netherlands and Hennig of France.
Yes, they jump in now. France still with the lead. Melanie Hennig, the powerful butterfly sprinter. This is a really strong and experienced French team on paper. We'll see if they can make any changes tonight. They look really good through the heat this morning. Hennig staying underwater, as to De Ward. The Netherlands there in the black caps, just moving through in lane 4, and China not too far away.
So it's France over the Netherlands from China, and Muller for France, Steenberg in the Netherlands, and China with Liu. We'll keep an eye on the world record, not so much here, but certainly tonight I reckon it's going to be under threat. 1:27.89 is the world record. Both the Australians and the United States going sub 1:30 here as we watch them go into the finish, and it's the quickest of the times, 1:29.69. 1:29.69 for France. Netherlands second and China third.
The first three heats have been won by, in times, within 0.3 of each other, within 0.3, so extremely tight racing through the morning, and we saw how close it can be last night in those sprint relays. One big split can change the game for the whole final. There's that changeover from Manadou to Grousseau, the French, with a really nice opening 100 metres. Not too many men's teams going to outsplit them through the first two legs, and down towards the finish, the Dutch team, the Dutch women were flying home, and just holding them off was France.
And France it is who ended up winning it. The Netherlands second and China third. Slovakia 1:32.38. Remains to be seen if that will be quick enough to make it through. Possibly in an outside lane. Some empty lanes here. Take out Canada, Italy and the Philippines. Well, Canada and Italy would have been well favoured to go first and second, but they're not swimming. So this is the last of the heats. It actually, on paper, looks like it would be normally the first of the heats. In lane number one, it's the Federated States of Micronesia. Hong Kong in lane 3. You've got the Bahamas in 6 and Chinese Taipei in lane number 8 there. I missed the Northern Mariana Islands. They're in lane number 2. At the moment, though, as they get into the second leg, it's the Bahamas in front. This is Luke Thompson in the water.
Yeah, nice 21.6 lead-off split there for Taylor. The Bahamas were in front, but really big second 50 metres there for the Chinese Taipei. That's Wu really slapping the water with that straight arm stroke. Handing over now, Chinese Taipei at the bottom of the pool. They lead at the halfway mark. Chen now swimming, the 22-year-old down there, and moving strongly in lane 3 is Hong Kong.
There's Hong Kong there. Chinese Taipei down the bottom there in lane number 8. And in lane 6, the Bahamas dropping back into third place, Northern Mariana Islands, and then the Federated States of Micronesia. So there's little between that pair as we start the final leg, Hong Kong and Chinese Taipei.
Yeah, Hong Kong still swimming strongly now. That's Ho in the water. It's a good race now with Chinese Taipei. They get their feet on the wall first, still 25 metres to go. So we got Huang from Chinese Taipei. Looks to be moving slightly better than Ho from Hong Kong as they come down to the finish. I think it will be the Chinese Taipei. They take out heat 4. Not much in it in the end. Just 0.1 of a second.
Hong Kong second, the Bahamas third, and then the Northern Mariana Islands and the Federated States of Micronesia. As I mentioned, that in itself, the fact that we had 4 heats and some of those countries I mentioned wouldn't normally have the depth to compete in the longer relays or the medley relays. So this is a great event for all countries.
Yeah, it certainly is. Lots of countries putting in strong teams. You can really combine, obviously, your best men and your best women. And no, Canada and Italy. I believe Canada won 12 months ago this event in Abu Dhabi.
Chinese Taipei with that winning time, 1:34.87. 11 hundredths of a second over Hong Kong, Bahamas third. So France with the fastest time will take lane 4 in the final. Then Australia, the Netherlands, the USA, China, New Zealand, Japan and Brazil, and Sweden and Slovakia. Not quite quick enough to crack the top 8.
France are actually bringing Beryl Gastadello tonight to go with Manadou and Grousseau. That's a really good team. Surprisingly, you don't normally see France winning relays, or especially with on the women's side, we haven't seen that for a number of years. So, and the Australians, they'll be strong. Chalmers will come onto that team. And the United States, of course, will always be tough to beat.
We move along to the women's 200 metres breaststroke now. That world record has stood for a long time, since the supersuit era. Rome 2009, Rebecca Soni. In fact, she actually set it in Manchester, but 2009 is remembered as the Rome World Championships, where world records fell in just about every single event. It was remarkable. So we're off for the first of 5 heats of the women's 200 metres breaststroke, and it's Ramudi Samarukan of Sri Lanka in lane number 2, Krista Jaruda of Guatemala in lane 3, Nadia Tudor-Cables of Andorra, Nicole Frank Rodriguez of Aruba, and Asia Kent of Gibraltar. The swimmers here, I may have actually given, yes, okay, lane 2 a non-starter here, so we're down to 4. And at the moment, it's Frank Rodriguez who leads them through.
Yeah, first of 5 heats, as you mentioned. Some big names to come. Lily King, the champion from last night. She'll be in heat 5 this morning. But right now, we're looking at Frank Rodriguez in lane 5. She's got an entry time of 2:33.3, second fastest seed in this opening heat. So again, as we've seen throughout this competition, a real mixture of long course and short course entry times. We're not really sure sometimes with different swimmers where that time has come from, but right now 109.4 for Frank Rodriguez at this halfway split. So she should be looking at something under 2 minutes 30 and still looking really strong through the 5th lap of this race.
19 years of age from Aruba, Nicole Frank Rodriguez, and she's well in front. In fact, the lead is just under 4 seconds now. It's Tudor in 2nd place, and then tight for 3rd there between lanes 3 and 6. That is Jaruda and Kent. Kent from Gibraltar. So they've gone through the 150 now, and let's just check on that margin. Yes, it's extended out to over 4.5 seconds.
Yeah, big lead over Tudor Cabells there in that green suit, just swimming in 2nd place at the moment. But this one, it's Frank Rodriguez. She was 37 seconds on that 50 metres, so she should be looking at something around 2:25 if she can just pick up that stroke rate as she comes towards the finish.
She's within 5 metres now. And Frank Rodriguez of Uruguay takes out the first of 5 heats here. And the time 2:26.44, well inside that entry time, as speculated. Tudor Cabells of Andorra in 2nd place. And 3rd home was Asia Kent of Gibraltar, with Krista Jaruda of Guatemala in 4th place.
Yeah, nice swim there for the 19-year-old. Goes almost 7 seconds quicker than her entry time. So she'll be really pleased with that. Led from the start. Gets up nice and high out of the water. Really got to squeeze those elbows in. Nice and tight, just to remain streamlined at the end of every stroke and into the finish there.
2:26.44 and then 2:31.45, so tick over 5 seconds between 1st and 2nd heat. Start list for the 2nd heat, and we can take out Kundal, lane 4. She's not starting here. Lane 4 empty. It leaves us with Chang of Hong Kong, Moon of Korea, Chabalis of Argentina. Across to lane 5, it's Laura Lahtinen of Finland, Maria Romanjuk of Estonia is in 6, Sim of Singapore in 7, and Power Patako of Thailand in lane number 8. And they've completed the first lap and a half, and starting to show out is Chabalas of Argentina, but there's not much in it in the early stages.
Yeah, it might be the swimmer from Singapore, Sim, who takes an early lead. She's just sitting at second, so it is Ceballos through the first 50 metres. And the one to watch also in lane 2 is Sua Moon from Korea. She's the youngest swimmer at these World Championships, just turned 14 a few weeks ago. And she swam a great 100 breaststroke earlier at these championships, so she's falling back there, second from the top. At the moment now, Sim starts to challenge Ceballos. They've got about a body length over Laura Lahtinen there, the Finnish swimmer in 5. She raced at the 200 butterfly final last night, so a really unusual combination of events, the 2 fly and the 200 breast. Lahtinen there in 3rd position right now. We'll see if she can challenge across this last 100 metres.
Well, there's a little between Sim in 7 and Chabalas there in lane number 3, and now the lead has officially switched over. It's a 1/10 of a second. Sim has taken over the running. She's been challenging for most of the race, but Chabalas had been hanging on to a slender lead. Not the case now, and Sim seems to be getting stronger the further it's going. 150 metres gone, 50 to go, and the lead out to almost 4/10 of a second.
Yeah, really putting in some powerful strokes now is Sim. Just pulling away. Ceballos has lifted her stroke rate, but she's fatiguing a little bit over the last few laps. And Sim down that last 25 metres, she hasn't been able to open up too much of a lead. You can see in these 200 breaststrokes now, they really just try and lift their stroke rate and almost take as many strokes as they can towards the finish.
And Chabalas still in this. It was still 4/10 of a second at the last turn, but now Sim's finishing better. Sim goes in and wins it. And a time of 2:21.6, Chabalas in 2nd place, and it was the youngster, the youngest at the championships, Sua Moon of Korea, in 3rd place.
2:21.6 for Letitia Sim. 6 seconds quicker than her entry time. The 19-year-old from Singapore controlled that one through the first 100 metres and made her move with 75 to go. So a really well executed swim. Little bit of a sculling motion there into that turn. It was a bit long into one of those walls. And Ceballos there touching 2nd.
Sim's time 2:21, 2:22 Chabalas, and Moon 2:23, heat 2. Not too far away from the next. Heat 3, Abby Wood in lane number 4, Sydney Pickram in 5. Kato is a scratching, so no swimmer in lane 7. So this is the first of the seeded heats here, 5 heats in total, and some of the bigger names, or the more recognisable names, come out to play here. Abby Wood was a finalist in both Tokyo and the World Championships in lane 4. Sydney Pickram, she's been on the international scene and had so many great results over the years. She's in 5, and the other one, Charlotte Bonnet of France, across there in lane number 2. Meader of South Africa is having a good championships. She's down alongside that vacant lane in 8. But at the moment, it is in lane number 3. It is Blomsterberg of Denmark who's leading the bigger names.
Yeah, a lot of familiar names in this 200 breaststroke, and Charlotte Bonnet, we've seen her over the past decade in the freestyler events, now sort of switching her focus in the breaststroke. I'm not sure if that's a complete change of stroke or if it's just as a bit of a freshen up sort of mid-Olympic cycle before there's 18 months before she goes into an all-important home Olympics. And the French team, especially with their veterans, new national team head coach Jaco Verhaeren doing a really good job just to reinvigorate their team and get those veterans back swimming their best. And of course, they've got a really good mix of young stars coming through. So Bonnet in that white cap, she's competing strongly. Strong 3rd 50 now for Blomsterberg. She leads through with 75 to go. Wood and Pickram, we know they're not going to go away yet. Pickram with a strong pull out there. Abby Wood in the middle with the red cap. She'll know how to finish this off, but a real tight three-way battle here. And this is the first of the seeded heats, so the times and the placings are important. They will not want to come third in this heat.
Bloomsterberg, well, now she's overtaken Sydney. Pickram's been challenging. She's been getting stronger. Mind you, it's about the timing of the stroke, and Bloomsterberg may have kicked again here as they turn at the 175 metre mark, I should say. And as they bring it home, Pickram, Bloomsterberg and Wood back there in third place. Top 8 times, making it through to the final, and Pickram is going to get the best of the... Oh, Bloomsterberg, it's on the touch. It is Pickram just off Bloomsterberg, and Wood in third place. Bonet was fourth. That was great racing, heat racing.
Yeah, Sydney Pickram, we don't normally see her race the longer breaststroke events, but you saw how good her pullouts were there. An IM specialist, and equally adept in the short course breaststroke there. She's in that light blue suit, diving in. She just hung with the leaders through the first 100 metres. It's about getting through the first part of the race as efficiently as you can, basically with the least amount of strokes as you can take, and saving all that energy and oxygen for the final sprint home. Good challenge from Bloomsterberg. Wood not too far away as well. But again, with 2 heats to go, Abby Wood in that time, 2:20.2, that's going to be right on the cusp of the final. Pickram, Bloomsterberg and Wood.
So that was heat number 3 up to heat 4, and looks like it's going to be a depleted field here. You can take out Alent, also Hansen and Tetrakova. Some big name scratchings from heat number 4 there. Hansen would have been a big chance, and Tetrakova, both of them finalists at recent big championships. Jenna Strosh, though, was the silver medalist at the Budapest World Championships. She's in lane number 3 here. Fast in 1, Tang in 5, and then went under Kate Douglas. Big name there in 7, and she's away nicely, and alongside a Mamie of Switzerland.
Yeah, I really want to watch Douglas this morning in this heat. She obviously won the 200 IM here at these World Championships, but in the short course yards racing in the US, she's the American record holder in the 50 free, the 100 fly, and the 200 breaststroke. So 3 distances, 3 strokes, unmatched versatility that we've ever seen on the women's side before. She leads through the first 75 meters, but look how long those strokes are. She's taking a lot less strokes than all of her competitors, right on world championship record pace right now. She's only taking 7 strokes a lap through the middle part of this one. 105.82, 0.6 over world record pace from Rebecca Sony, and her entry time 2:21.4. That's a long course time. So this will be the first time she's ever raced this 200 breaststroke in short course meters, and I would think that she can make it through to tonight's final going all out. She could probably go something around 2:15 or 2:16. So Douglas looking really strong early in this heat.
We unveiled our yellow line last night. That's a championship record time. And currently that championship record, 2:16.08, held by Ricky Pedersen of Denmark. She set that in Istanbul in 2012. So we'll keep an eye on the championship record. Sony's world record has stood for a long time, as indicated, 2:14.57. It's Douglas. Douglas who leads with just less than a lap to go now. And she's got a fair old margin. Back there in second place in lane number 5, it'll be Tang and Strosh trying to go with her. But this is Katie Douglas. Katie Douglas wins it in a time 2:16.52. Tang second, Strosh and Mamie.
Wow. That's impressive. Shades the championship record. 6 strokes on that final lap. I highly doubt we've ever seen a more efficient 200 breaststroke before. Definitely not from Rebecca Sony. And she's within 2 seconds of that world record. No doubt she could lift her rate. She could probably get into these walls a little bit nicer. A lot of the American collegiate-based swimmers aren't used to racing in short course meters, and Douglas commanding victory in heat 4.
By over 3 seconds, in fact, from Tang and Strosh, both around the 2:19 to 2:20 mark. So very impressive for Douglas of the United States. The fifth and final heat of the 200 breaststroke with Lily King victorious in the 100 last night. She's in 4, Tess Schuten in 5. So we've got the gold and silver medalists from the 100 last night here in lanes 4 and 5. King of the USA, and from the Netherlands, Tess Schuten, Horsker of the Czech Republic in 3. And Kelsey Wog is one to watch out for as well. She was 4th at the World Championships in Budapest. She is swimming out of 6.
Yeah, Lily King with an early lead. As you mentioned, champion in the 100 breast last night. What a great showdown that was. And is putting a lot more emphasis on this 200 breaststroke than we've ever seen before. Underworld record split at the 50 meters. She was on the Olympic podium in this one last year. She topped the World Championship podium for the first time in the 200 meter distance in Budapest. And King swimming aggressively here early. Schuten not letting her get too far away. A much improved swimmer from the Netherlands. Also a medalist last night in the 100. And does prefer the 200 meter distance. So definitely a lot more 200 meter breaststroke specialists lining up here in heat 5, and swimming in 3rd at the moment is Michaela Smith, the 24-year-old Australian, making her international debut.
So Smith trying to stay with the 2 leaders in 4 and 5 there. King, the winner of the World Championships in Budapest. She was close with a silver medal in Tokyo. So this 200 breast is hers, just about all to herself. We've completed 125 now. King, she's got to try to fight off Schuten. The world record has given up, I think. It was 2:14.57. They took it out very hard. Now Schuten's in front of King with 50 metres to go. The margin between that pair is less than a second, about 0.9.
Yeah, it's an impressive third 50 from Schuten. King's fighting back. They're hot on her heels. She wouldn't want to drop any further back than sure it is Lily King. They're moving at a good pace. Schuten still with a half-second lead. Michaela Smith there in 3rd. And a lot of people really rising on this last 25. Here comes King.
King is finishing hard. Schuten trying to hold on. It's King in the white cap, Schuten in the black, and King's going to get there. Lily King wins from Schuten and Smith. In fact, Wog got up for 3rd over Smith, so she finished well, the Canadian, in lane number 6. Lily King, though, she's a born racer, 2:18.59. 2:18.59. We were talking about that world record. Well, that's just how good it was, how quick it was from Sony. 4 seconds quicker than that.
Yeah, you can see how strong of a racer Lily King is. Put in a lot of effort there to chase down Schuten, but does not like to get beaten, Lily King, whether it's a heat, a semi, or a final. That was the finish, but put in a lot of energy there. A much different style to what we saw from Douglas in the previous heat. And Douglas went 2 seconds quicker than King and Schuten. Down to the finish, the timing on the wall. I wonder if they're going to look at something here. King has been disqualified in the past in these events for a non-simultaneous touch on that turn or finish. That would be big news. We are waiting for the review.
Last night in the 100, of course, there was disqualification. The big rivalry between King and Melia-Tite. King was first home. Melia-Tite, though, disqualified. Yeah,
disqualified last night for multiple dolphin kicks off the dive. So Melia-Tite was the silver medalist and she got disqualified. They are definitely, well, judging on these replays, they're going to look at a simultaneous touch from King. This is the finish. King in the white, coming into the wall. They have to touch with 2 hands at the same time. You can't really tell from that side angle.
And what's happened here? Lane 8 disqualified. So Visagi is disqualified here. It's all clear as far as the place getters are concerned, though. King, Shooten, Wog, and then Smith. So we have the final list here. Douglas and King, the two Americans, Shooten, Pickram, Tang, Strosh, Blomsterberg, and Wood. These are the swimmers who miss out on swimming the final. So King getting the green light. In fact, they weren't even looking at King. So she's okay. Going to be hard to beat in the final. That will be coming up this evening. That'll be one of 8 finals on the program, with semi-finals in 2 events. The men's 200 metres breaststroke, a world record standing for 4 years now. Kirill Pagoda of Russia.
Look who's in the first.
Yes, I know. Noticed that. In lane number 4, Adam Peaty. The Olympic 100 metres champion. Peaty in this unseeded heat, the first of 5. This race, I think it's fair to say, will be over very early. So Peaty in the red cap there. Al Mahab of Saudi Arabia. It's a big moment for this youngster, 15 years of age, and he's alongside Peaty. And on the other side of Peaty, it is the 22-year-old from Zimbabwe, Liam Davis. But Peaty, who has been out of action for most of this year with injury. He missed the Budapest World Championships, returned underdone for the Commonwealth Games in Birmingham, but he is the Olympic 100 champion, and he's already a bronze medalist here in the 100. So in an early heat and trying to get a spot in the final.
Yeah, what a moment for the other 2 swimmers to be racing alongside the great Adam Peaty, definitely the greatest sprint breaststroker of all time, chasing his 3rd Olympic gold medal in Paris in the 100-metre distance. We don't normally see him in the 200 all at international level, but he has stated he has come to race in Melbourne more for training purposes than any sort of time or result-related goals. And as you mentioned, recovering from a broken wrist and had a disappointing long course season this year. Took some time off, changed a few things in his personal life outside of the pool, and not afraid to race, not afraid to lose, even though he is such a great swimmer, is Adam Peaty. So we'll see how he can hold up over this 200-metre distance. You can see that stroke just getting a little bit short, a little bit tired through this 3rd 50. That was a 33-second 50. He turns 4 seconds over world record pace, so he could be still looking at something around 205, 206 would be a strong performance. It probably won't be good enough to qualify for the final, but a great chance to see Adam Peaty swim in Melbourne.
Back in the pool doing what he does best. Mind you, he was featured on Strictly Dancing as well throughout his recuperative times. I think he's a better swimmer than a dancer. He's about to touch the wall now and record a time of 2:07.31. Adam Peaty in second place. Davis, well, he's certainly far from disgraced. That's a wonderful experience for the swimmer from Zimbabwe. And Al Mahar, this youngster, this 15-year-old from Saudi Arabia. He finishes 3rd in a race alongside the great man, Adam Peaty.
Yes, takes out the first, 2:07.3. It's not going to be good enough to make the finals, I would think, but really good hit out for Peaty. Bronze medalist last night in the 100-metre distance, and he's really revolutionised sprint breaststroke on the world stage with that high stroke rate. His pull, it's almost like a powerful sculling motion rather than a traditional breaststroke pull. And he keeps that kick really narrow just to be able to increase his rate and stay on top of the water. You see how strong Peaty is. He's changed the body shape of breaststrokers and has really lifted the bar of breaststroke swimming at this level.
So we got a disqualification there. The youngster disqualified from lane 3, but Petey taking it out. Heat 2. And there's a scratching there from lane 6.
Take your marks.
So that leaves us here with Murillo of Colombia, Keelock of South Africa, Dugasov of Canada in 3, Cook of the Philippines, Bob Robs of Latvia, down to lane 7 at Sains of the Virgin Islands, and Che of Chinese Taipei in lane number 8. So the quickest of the entry times here. There's 2 of them only 100th of a second separated, Cook and Bob Robs.
Yeah, swimming there in 3 with the lead. Now it's going to be Murillo from Colombia. Tight racing here in Heat 2. Durgasov from Canada also moving well in that black cap. Swimmers in the middle of the pool with entry times of 2:09. They would have seen that heat just been swum from Petey, and the 2:07 he threw down. And Durgasov and Murillo really going after that swim this morning. This is the fourth lap, sorry. Just coming up to the halfway mark. We'll take a look at the split. Petey was a 59. Going to be 1 minute 0.8. But James Durgasov, the 26-year-old Canadian, with an early lead and looks to be pulling away here.
He's the swimmer out there in lane number 3, Durgasov, 26-year-old. And in second place, still swimming nicely, Murillo there of Colombia, who's about a length behind, a body length behind. And then in third place between that pair to be Keelock of South Africa. 50 to go. It's those lanes over close to the athlete stands. Durgasov in front of Murillo and Keelock.
Yeah, it's extended that lead. Has Durgasov really holding pace well. Murillo in second place there, but just dropping back a little bit, and swimming strongly now is Keelock, as you mentioned. But it's going to be James Durgasov. We'll see what sort of time he can post here in Heat 2. Coming down to those last few strokes. He lifts his rate, trying to nail that finish. And he beats the time of Petey, 2:06.17 for James Durgasov. Takes that heat win by well over 2 seconds there. Murillo in second and Keelock in third.
Already it's difficult to see Petey advancing in this event. Still with 3 seeded heats remaining.
Yeah, that was them off the start. The pull-out important off the dive, but when it comes to the skill part of the race, you only get 1 dive, but there's 7 turns here, so the turns much more important in the men's 200 breaststroke.
2:06.17 for Durgasov, and by over 2, getting on towards 3 seconds. First of the seeded heats here. Pearson, Pamputis. Ang was the finalist at the Commonwealth Games. He's down there in 8.
Take your marks.
Quickly off the blocks there was Charlie Swanson of the United States, an entry time 2:04.25. In 4 and 5, it's Pearson, who was a finalist in Tokyo, and he took silver in Budapest in this event, and Pamputis, who was a finalist. He finished 8th in Abu Dhabi. He's in 5. So we'll watch for Swanson, Pearson and Pamputis, and perhaps showing out early in lane number 6, it'll be Vicarat.
Yeah, the starter held him a long time, but Vicarat, the Frenchman, got off the blocks well. You can see off that angle, really powerful on that pull-out. He looks like he's got the best turns early in this race. There he is in 6th, the Frenchman leading right now. Watch for Swanson, the American. We know just how skillful they are in short course racing. We haven't seen Swanson at the international level before, but he's getting his first race of the championships as well in Melbourne, so really tight. They're just sitting on Vicarat's shoulder. Eric Persson moving through, the 28-year-old Swede. He's got medals at this level in the past. He'll know what to do to execute his best race, and this is where it all starts to change after the halfway mark. Again, it's 100 metres of efficient swimming, and then a 50 build and a 50 max. Person's taken over.
3 laps to go now, and good racing between lanes 2 and 3 and 4, 5 and 6. About a third of a body length separating all of those swimmers there in lane number 4. It's Person who, well, he's still behind Vicarat, but not by too much. And in third place, Pumputis.
Yeah, three-way battle. Swanson and the second French swimmer not too far away, but Person swimming the better of them, but can't quite take control of this heat. Vicarat's right there, Pumputis in the middle of them.
Pumputis, the finalist from Abu Dhabi, and now Person, finalist from Tokyo. And down there, it's still Vicarat. Through goes Person in lane 4. He should win it, you would think. No, Vicarat touching him out. Person second, and Pumputis in third. And then it was Charlie Swanson. 2:03.93. 2:03.93 for the winner. And in second place, it was, 8 100ths of a second, Person.
Yeah, good racing, exciting racing in the first of the seeded heats. Person in that blue cap, this is the finish. He takes a short stroke. Vicarat on the right side of screen, glides out to the finish. And it looked like during the call, Person was going to lead at different walls of that race, but Vicarat just extends out really nicely into his turns and his finish. And this is it there. They lunge together. Vicarat at the bottom of screen. Only 8 100ths of a second separated, and that was the turn, sorry. Almost together.
So that video review before we can confirm the result. It's a really good race there. Heat 3, the first of the seeded heats. Feeling actually, there are a couple of disqualifications, yes, from France and Slovakia, but that doesn't change the way they finished. Vicarat, Person and Pumputis. So 2 disqualifications. Heat 4. And we can take out Cole Marty. He's not on the blocks. Lane 7 vacant here. We've got Chillingworth of Hong Kong in 1, and then Petrashov of Kyrgyzstan, Corbeau of the Netherlands, Watanabe of Japan, Kin of China in lane number 5, Zabojnik of the Czech Republic, and then down to Gilbert of New Zealand. It's a seeded heat here, and yet, apart from perhaps Watanabe and Corbeau, it's lacking some of the more recognisable names at international world-class swimming. So not an especially strong heat, this one.
Yeah, we've got some big names still coming up in Heat 5 after this, but in there is Kin, who has medalled at this level before, and above him in that black cap of Japan is Watanabe, the former world record in the long course 200 breaststroke, who's bounced back to some good form. But right now, through the first part of this race, out aggressively is Zabojnik from the Czech Republic. He'll lead at the halfway mark. It's a much quicker split than what we've seen in the previous heats, 59.0. You can see how high he gets up out of the water, really throws his body forward to get the most out of every stroke, but swimming like that, he might get tired through the last 50. Kin now from China touches first there at the 125.
So Kin, it is, leading. He's in lane 5. He was 5th in the final at Abu Dhabi 12 months ago. And he is looking for a spot in the final here as they go through the 150. Kinnett is in front. Zabojanic of the Czech Republic in second place. And then Watanabe. Watanabe's challenging for the lead. In fact, the black cap of the Japanese swimmer might almost be in front, although as I speak, they get to the last of the turns and Kin has taken over again. This is going to be a tight finish here as they bring it home now in Heat 4, the second last of the seeded heats. And it is now Watanabe who gets on top. Watanabe will take it out. In second place it was Kin, and in third home Zabojevic. I think what it indicated is on top of the water, Watanabe had more speed than Kin, but Kin doing better on the turns perhaps. 2:03.64.
Yes, great swim there for Watanabe. Here we go, coming into that last turn. Kin did lead. Strong pull out the Chinese swim in the red suit, but Watanabe has been as quick as 2:01 already this year. He's got plenty left in the tank. Knew he just needed to win that heat to move through to the final, and he does in fact take out Heat 4 and post the fastest time of the morning so far.
It's 2:03.64 and 2:03.81, so 1700ths of a second between first and second. Zabojanic not too far away. Some big names here in the last of the heats here. Seto and Fink. McKee is there. He's a well-performed international swimmer, lane 3 for Israel. And we can take out Sun.
Okay, fuel marks.
So away we go. Seto, who was the silver medalist earlier in the competition. You've got the defending champion, Nick Fink, in lane number 5. He was, of course, the gold medalist in the 100.
Yeah, big names here. Fink, the defending champ. Seto, the #1 swimmer in the world this year. I really feel like he's put an emphasis on this 200 breaststroke event for the first time in his career. A little bit off in the IMs and the flies so far in Melbourne, still on podiums. We'll see what Seto can do. And also in 6 there is Marco Koch from Germany. He's the former world record holder in this event. And also swimming well in 3 is McKee. So they would have seen the previous couple of heats go by. They know they need to be 2:03 or better to move through to the final, because you've got the big 4 in the middle of the pool swimming strongly, and Seto taking it out early.
Seto through the halfway mark. He has a little lead here of half a second over McKee of Iceland in lane 3. Fink, the 100-metre champion, is trying to make his move in lane 5, and Koch, who was a finalist in Abu Dhabi 12 months ago, he is there as well in lane number 6 as they turn through the 125. They've got just over 2 laps to go here, and starting to surge away is Seto.
Wow, doesn't he look good? Daya Seto. He'd be one of the smallest swimmers at the World Championships, definitely elite swimmers, standing about 5'10", but he's got monster pullouts. And he holds his stroke. He swims longer than anybody else. Fink now just trying to make a move. I don't think he'll get there, but he will want to post a strong time, Nick Fink. And Koch not too far away, but Seto looks great in this heat.
He's looking terrific. He's going to hang on to this lead and go to the wall. The lead was narrowed somewhat by Fink. Seto had done enough earlier in the race. Seto taking it out from Fink. Koch, McKee, 2:02.43, the winning time for the Japanese champion.
Yeah, looking to add to his 10 short course World Championship medals, I believe, in his career. Daya Seto never raced even the breaststroke individually at this level. He's been 2:01.4 already this year. There's rumours he could potentially have a go at the world record tonight if he's in that sort of form. Seto, Fink and Koch, they'll move through to the final.
We'll have a look at that field for the final. Seto starting as favourite, Fink, so that'll be a replay, if you like, of what we've just seen. Seto and Fink, what an arby. Pamputis 204.37 goes through. Zaboynik 204.57 is the first reserve. Adam Peaty ended up with the 18th fastest time. As we've said, he was not a regular at short course championships, and the 200, well, he's more inclined to swim the shorter distances, and he is the star over the 100. We move along to the women's 50 metres freestyle. We have 8 heats ahead of us. Ranomi Kromowidjojo setting that world record 22.93 5 years ago. We'll take our 2 and 3 here. This is the first of 8 heats. Tiana Adams in 4. Adams away well. She's in lane number 4. She's from the Federated States of Micronesia. Sanders of Gibraltar in lane 5, and then across to 6 and 7, Alayed of Saudi Arabia and Akhtar of Bangladesh. And out there by herself alongside those 2 vacant lanes in lane 1, it's Mary Yonge of Sierra Leone. So the swimmers here in 4 and 5 engaged in an interesting battle as they go down to the finish. And it is Sanders from Gibraltar who's just a tiny bit quicker than Adams of the Federated States of Micronesia. Akhtar was in 3rd placing. So good racing in the first of 8 heats here. And Rachel Sanders, who has just turned 18, making the trip to Australia for her first World Championships. As we see this start again, Mary Yonge was left on the blocks there from Sierra Leone in lane number 1. It became a battle between the swimmers in the yellow lanes there. Sanders getting on top in the closing stages, just over Tiana Adams. $28.73 and $28.84. Gibraltar and Micronesia, first and second. Here's heat 2. Tanduka of Nepal, Sultan of Kuwait. And it's a good even start here. So we've got Cameroon and Timor-Leste, the Maldives, Nepal, Kuwait, Papua New Guinea, Togo and Palau as they get up to the halfway point. The swimmer who's featuring at the moment up there in lane number 1 at Zenon of Cameroon. She's got a lead of maybe a third to half a body length. They're starting to come through. It is Takoma Garup of Papua New Guinea finishing hard down there in the yellow cap. She gets second, and third it was Tanduka of Nepal. Again, good racing in the early heats. That's great to see. And the time there, 27.87.
Yeah, always a surprise to get a winner out of lane 1, but unseeded was Sandra Zenon. And it's over pretty quick, the 50 freestyle. She got out to a lead, powerful up that turn, and into the finish there. A little bit short on that touch, but good enough to win heat 2.
In that time was indicated, 27.87. Almost a full second in the end. Between first and second, heat 2. There's the start list for heat 3 here. Malawi, Tanzania, Kosovo, Samoa, Tonga, St. Martin and the Marshall Islands, all represented. Becky in lane 4, Brown of Samoa in lane number 5, Pinto just may have wobbled on the blocks a little bit there in lane 1.
Yeah, we'll see what the review says about that start from Pinto, but in the pool, the swimmer in 4, that's Hannah Vicky. We've seen her race really strongly at the World Championship level before. Entry time of 27.82. She's powering towards the finish. Nice straight arm sprint freestyle stroke. She gets well under that time. 26.84 for Bicky, the 14-year-old, getting valuable international experience, and always good to win your race, to win a heat at any level. This was the start. Pinto at the top of screen. She was quick off the blocks. Her reaction was 0.61, so it's not out of this world fast, but I'm not sure if there was a bit of a wobble. And when it came to the swimming, Hannah Beakey, born in 2008, takes out heat 3.
All clear from the judges there. Beakey winning heat number 3 from Brown and Latif, and Pinto from lane 1 finishing 5th. On to the 4th heat. And it looks like we've got a full field of 8 down there. Good start, lane 1 there. This is Puswad of Guyana, Halil of Algeria, and Namatibi of Uganda in those middle lanes. Also going nicely in lane 3, Wang.
Yeah, much tighter racing now. Swimmers in the middle of the pool with entry times at 25 seconds. It is Wang in 3. That looks to be slightly ahead. Charging home now is Milil down to the touch. It's going to be the swim from Chinese Taipei. Wang Mi-chin, 25.07. Full second faster than her entry time. I'm sure she would have loved to have gone under 25 seconds. 24-year-old does a personal best time. She's really pleased with that performance. Down in towards the finish there, at the top of screen. Mili from Algeria, almost simultaneously stroking at the finish. That margin, not much in it at all.
No, not much in it. 2/100ths of a second, in fact, between first and second. Timmer in 3rd placing. Moving along to heats number 5 here, the last of the unseeded heats. Caitlin DeLung of South Africa in 3rd. And DeLung was away well, the South African. The 18-year-old in lane 4, Barino of Argentina, is in lane 5.
Yeah, she looks strong, doesn't she? DeLung turning first there. The South Africans having a great World Championships here in Melbourne. See if she can hang on through this second 25. Moving through now is the swimmers at the top of screen. Not too far away, but it's going to be DeLung taking out heat number 5. Fastest time of the morning, 24.67. Half a second faster than her entry time. The South African women winning a lot of heats, early heats here in Melbourne, and performing at their best. There she is on the left of screen in 4. Got a really clean dive into the water. Was out first at the 25-meter mark, and always hard to chase somebody down when the pool is so short and the racing is over before you know it.
24.67 the winning time here in the 5th heat. 24.93 for each of the swimmers from Argentina and Cyprus. Now we reach the seeded heats here. Heat 6 of 8 with Claire Kurtzen, Meg Harris, Valerie Van Roon, Erica Brown. So Curson, the American youngster, the star in lane number 4. Harrison Brown in 5 and 6. Dead heated in Budapest for the bronze.
Yeah, Harris there swimming well. Normally takes her a little while to get wound up, Meg Harris, but she does turn first. Curzon underwater. The Americans in those white caps this morning. Erica Brown having a really good swim, but Meg Harris getting on top. And this has been a good performance in heat number 6 for Harris. 23.77. The first swimmer under 24 seconds this morning. It's her fastest 50 freestyle of the championships. She's been busy across relays here in Melbourne. Now gets her chance in the individuals race. even start off the blocks there. Brown and Curzon on either side of her. They've all been busy. It's such a heavy relay program for the sprint freestylers now at the Short Course World Championships. But Meg Harris produces another great performance.
Really nice swim from Harris. 23.77. Brown and Curzon second and third. Van Roon fourth. Back comes Emma McKeon now in the 7th heat. Lane 4, Michelle Coleman in lane 5 for Sweden. So McKeon, having already raced this morning in the mixed 4x50 metres freestyle relay, the winner of the 100. There's Coleman. So McKeon slow off the blocks here. She was the winner of the 50 and the 100 at the Tokyo Olympics. What has she got here? Lane 6, Hennig. She's flying.
Yeah, we know Hennig is such a good, such explosiveness off the blocks and underwater. She still leads, says Hennig. Watch for McKeon to start to move through. They're flagging her. Hopkins finishing off well for Great Britain in 3. McKeon's a little bit behind. Hopkins takes out the heat. Tight finish there. Dead heat, in fact, with Melanie Hennig, the Frenchwoman. They tie at 23.86. McKeon in 3rd, Coleman just 1/100th back in 4th place. 4 swimmers under 24 seconds.
Anna Hopkins. Well, she was always going to be there in the finish. She was a finalist in Budapest. She made the final of this event at Birmingham at the Commonwealth Games as well. And in the red cap, out touching McKeon, who looked a little sluggish, certainly sluggish off the blocks. So a dead heat in heat 7, 23.86 between Hopkins and Hennig. Here we have the last of the heats here. Zhang Yufei listed in 5 and Silvia Di Pietro in 6, both non-starters. So Vasek in lane number 4 here. She was 5th in Tokyo. In fact, she dead heated with Wu, who's in 3. Those 2 swimmers at the Tokyo final. Vasek, I mentioned, excellent on the FINA World Cup circuit. She won all 3 50s.
Yeah, 30 years of age, really in the prime of her career now, swimming better than she ever has before. The swimmer from Poland, there she is in that white cap, middle of the pool. Jensen was out quick. We've seen her swim well in the backstroke events, so you know she's good underwater. But Vasek stretching out nicely here in this last heat. 23.74. She does in fact post the fastest time of the morning. And racing with that nose plug, which is normally a backstroke thing. Sostrom brought that into the 4 in the freestyle and butterfly events, and Katarina Vasek taking out the last of the heats. And down towards the finish, Jensen wasn't too far away. But Dane having a really good World Championships.
23.74 by 5/100ths of a second over Jensen. Vasek of Poland, Jensen of Denmark. Let's have a look at this semi-final lineup then. Vasek the quickest to go through, just over Meg Harris by 3/100ths of a second. McKeon, 6th fastest, Coleman and Brown. And De Lange of South Africa with that time 24.67 makes it through as the last of the qualifiers. And Schwissard at 24.69. Bad luck for the swimmer from Thailand. Close, but not quite. So Semi-final time in that short sprint this evening for the women, and also, of course, the men. We'll get underway with the men's heats in just a moment. And we will go from the short ones to the long ones because we've got 1,500 metres heats coming up as well a little bit later on as far as the women are concerned. So we cover all bases here. The men's 50 metres freestyle, Caleb Dressel's world record 20.16, set 2 years ago. That was in Budapest. 4 swimmers in the first of the heats. Swaziland and Libya in the middle lanes here. Muravej in lane 3. Jele of Swaziland in 4. Katap of Libya in 5. And Jonga of Gambia in lane 6.
Take your marks.
No entry times here. You've got lanes 3 and 6 quickly off the blocks there, beating Jele and Katat as they started. And you look in lane number 3, you can understand why he got a great start. He's way out in front. That is Muravej.
Yeah, he is out in front. No entry times for these swimmers in 1, so you can see them scattered across the pool. But Muravej swimming well, 24.08. Takes out the first one. The 17-year-old, sorry, swimming a good time. He has a look, looks quite pleased. Always good to win the race.
Swimming under the FINA flag.
World Aquatics flag, is it?
Soon to be World Aquatics. We're still FINA for the championships here, the last FINA World Championships. The rebranding, the renaming, gradually taking effect into the new year. And by the time we get to Fukuoka in July, it will be World Aquatics rather than FINA. There's the result here of the first of 11 heats, 24.08 and 26.52 first and second. Depleted field here for the second. You can take out lanes 1, 4, 5 and 7.
Take your marks.
So down to 4 all of a sudden, and Dayu of Toga, Gutierrez of Timor-Leste, and then Bangura of Sierra Leone, and from Pakistan it's Khan. And Khan, the best of them, and he's turned and he's leading now by about 4 body lengths. So he got off the blocks quickly, and they were never going to catch him from there. He didn't have an entry time, and placed in an outside lane, and he proved far too strong.
25.16 for Shabazz Khan, 31-year-old. Had a nice smooth stroke there. Looks, we saw him earlier this championships in the 100 freestyle. There is bottom of screen, breathing every 4 strokes or so. And it was a good race there in heat 2. Taking it out from lane 8 was Shabazz Khan, ahead of Gutierrez and Bangura.
Looks like all 8 will start here in the third of the heats, and Brandon Schuster, he's a regular at the International World Championships, the Samoan, lane 4.
Take your marks.
So Schuster in 4, and Niabisi of Rwanda on lane number 5 here. As I mentioned, we often see Brandon Schuster in these earlier heats, and he's improving his times all the time. He's in the blue cap there in lane number 4. Niabisi in 2nd place in 5, and perhaps in 3rd place in lane number 6 it could be Sakurai Palau as he goes in, Schuster, and stops the clock in 23.71. Niabisi 2nd and Sakurai in 3rd place.
Yeah, Schuster there taking heat 3. 24-year-old, pleased with that performance. 2 seconds faster than his entry time, which must have been a long course entry. There he is in that purple suit in the middle of the pool. Away cleanly. We're all 8 swimmers off the blocks, but when it came to the swimming portion of the race, they couldn't match the speed and power of Brendan Schuster.
So his winning time there, about 1.25 seconds over Niobisi. Sakurai with 25.57. On to the 4th heat. Bangladesh and Tanzania in 4 and 5, flanked there by Oman and Kosovo. Palestine, Mongolia, Papua New Guinea and Nigeria making up the remainder of the field.
Take your marks.
Held them a while, but Risa of Bangladesh gets away in lane 4. Halal of Tanzania in 5.
Yeah, even start. Look at the splash there in heat number 4. Not much separates them at the halfway mark. Might be the swimmer in 3. That's Al Adawi with a slight lead. There's a lot of splash coming in here. Hard to see exactly what's going on in that pool right now, but it will be Al Adawi taking that one out. 23.60. Fastest time through the first 4 heats. The 23-year-old winning that one. All 8 swimmers there faster than their entry times as well, so things really start to pick up through the early heats of this men's 50 freestyle. There he is underwater off the turn. About a half body length lead at the 25, and it's really difficult, especially men sprinting, to chase anybody after they do get a lead at that halfway mark.
So 23.6 through to 24.84, the 8 swimmers in heat 4. Bosnia and Herzegovina in lane 4, Korea in 5 as we move along to heat 5.
Take your marks.
Quickly off the blocks there was McCaig of Fiji in lane 2. As they emerge though in lanes 3, it's Wu, and also lane 5, and that is Yang of Korea. He would probably be leading at the moment. Yang it is who comes up just in front of Wu. Yang it is, Wu trying to go with him. McCaig back there in 3rd as they get to the wall. Yang it is. Wu 2nd, Mesetovic ended up getting his way into 3rd place from Bosnia and Herzegovina. 21.54 the winning time in heat 5.
Very handy there for Jaehoon Yang. Strong there. There he's in 5. Had some cupping done. You can see those marks on across the top of his shoulders. That stroke was super stable. Look at that. No movement through the hips. A lot of shoulder rotation just to increase the power of the stroke. And 21.54. That should be close to the semis. That should be close to making top 16.
Yes, 21.54 and 22.05. Yang and Wu. Times coming right down after 5 heats. Here's the start list for heat 6. Now lane 6 will be empty here. Swimmer from Iran. We've got Jordan Crooks of the Cayman Islands in lane 3. He is the man to watch. Linikin Skinner, Ukraine and Namibia, 4 and 5.
Take your marks.
Let's watch Crooks. We'll watch them all, but Jordan Crooks has made a big splash here at the World Championships.
Yeah, he has made some waves. Was in lane 4 last night in the 100 freestyle final. Not good enough to get himself on the podium, but look at that split, 9.80, still underwater. He is so smooth there. The crowd oohs and ahs. Let's look at the time from Crooks, 20.3. Holy dooly, out of the unseeded heats. Yet again, Crooks surprises. He loves a bit of clean water, and that's not far off the championship record.
Tell you what, it's getting down towards the world record as well. 2016 is the world mark, but Crooks, he was quickly away and off the wall here. Wow, he was about 2 body lengths in front.
Oh, don't worry about the rest of the field. Bit tight on that finish there for Crooks. What a swim. Hasn't he really asserted himself here in Melbourne? 20.36, Taylor and Linick also swimming well, but we've still got 3 heats to go before we get to the seededs.
Looks like Montalban will be a non-starter here in heat number 7. David Curtis, Joshua Sanchal, United States to Germany, 4 and 5. That time of Crooks was only a 1/10 of a second outside Manadou's championship record that he set in Doha 8 years ago, and 0.2 of a second out of Dressel's world record.
Wow. Wow. He's got to do that through the semis and finals. We will see Manadou coming up in heat 10.
Take your marks.
Off they go. So Curtis, the United States, Salcho of Germany, Charuti of Israel in lane 6, and he might be our leader.
Yeah, Curtis just struggles off the blocks. Not great through that underwater part. It's Charuti with an early lead. We're still in the unseeded heats right now, but that swim from Crooks definitely would have got everybody fired up. Curtis moving through in the middle. It's going to be Charuti just ahead of the swimmer from... Charuti from Israel, sorry, gets it, 21.33. It's a really strong time there. He does take out that heat ahead of Miljenik and David Curtis back in 3rd. That was the dive. Charuti there in lane 6, just below those yellow lanes in the pink suit. Look how tight this racing is. It's going to be so close, this top 16. There's going to be some big names missing out.
4 100ths of a second between 1st and 2nd here, and only 3 100ths of a second back to 3rd. The 8th heat now, so this is the last of the unseeded heats, but boy, we've got Michael Andrew there in lane 5. We've got Spazzari there of Brazil in lane number 4, and Lewis Barris as well. He's in 2 for Great Britain. Barris was 7th in Budapest, Andrew 4th in Tokyo at the Olympics.
Take your marks.
So up there, Barris didn't win the start in the red cap. Spazzari in 4, Andrew in the white cap in lane number 5, and he would be leading.
Yeah, much better start there from Andrew in the white cap. He's the fastest qualifier for the 100 REM final tonight. So Andrew with that hooking right arm stroke. He's going to get challenged there from Barris. Barris steals it from 2, 21.00. 21 flat there, nod of the head. He's happy with that. That'll be good enough to move through. Andrew 21.02, not far behind at all. And off the blocks, Barris in that red cap. Pretty even start. No one can get much of an advantage these days. The level of sprint swimming is just too high. Barris there jams the wall. Andrew stretched out. 21.0s for the both of them. Barris, Andrew, Nicholas Leah from Norway touching 3rd. I say they should safely move through. We've still got 24 swimmers to come. And you've got Crooks there sitting in number 1.
Yuri Kissel out there in lane 1 here in the first of the seeded heats. Dylan Carter, Trinidad and Tobago in lane number 4. Kolomev in 5 was just out of the medals in Tokyo. Carter won all 3 events at this stroke at the FINA World Cup Series, 4th in the Commonwealth Games.
Take your marks.
Carter away well, off the blocks in 4, Kolomev in 5.
Yeah, Carter really powerful through his underwater kicking there. Already with a half head lead is the swimmer from Trinidad and Tobago. 10.03. Watch Carter off the turn. That's where he gets more of an advantage. This is a strong performance from Dylan Carter.
Terrific effort by Carter. Off the wall, that second 25. He was very, very powerful. Carter taking it out from home. It's, well, as I mentioned, he started well, but off that wall, he was able to double his lead.
Yeah, personal best as well for Carter. 20.70. This was the turn. Got in nicely. Wow, he underwater kicks on his back to go the full 15 metres. You don't often see that. It paid off. What a performance through the heats. Carter Ho also there at the top of the screen, getting under 21 seconds. Great swim from the swimmer from Hong Kong, Kolomiev and Deplano there. Look how close that is through the minor placings.
It would be fantastic to see Trinidad and Tobago and the Cayman Islands in the middle lanes of this 50 metres free final. Maybe. Kyle Chalmers in lane 4 here. Tom de Boer in 5. This is the second last of the heats, and we've got Manadou, Florent Manadou in lane number 3, and Maresi, the Italian, in 2. What a field, a hot field.
Here they come.
Manadou, the championship record holder. It's stood now for 8 years. 2026.
What about the size of these guys behind the blocks in heat 10?
Chalmers sensational in the relays. Didn't win the start here. Manadou off the blocks quicker.
Yeah, one of the best starters in the world is Florent Manadou. Away well through the first 25. Chalmers is behind, but we know he likes to chase. Look at the turn from Chalmers in that gold cap. Manadou looking well as well with that straight arm stroke. It's going to be Manadou. He eases up, but he still touches first. 20.94. Comfortable there for Manadou. Chalmers flew home as we knew he would. Second place there for the Australian. Bukov from Ukraine touching in 3rd. And it's almost becoming regular to see 20-second swims. Manadou there, here he is on the left of screen. He really eased off those last 2 strokes. It's only 2 strokes, but it just shows the intent of where he was at in this heat. It was a 45-metre effort. Manadou first, Chalmers, Bukov, Maresi, the top 4 place getters in the second to last heat.
Chalmers, not a renowned great starter. He was second slowest off the blocks there, just in front of, who was it, Bukov. So in the 50, it can make a big difference. The last of the heats, Benjamin Proud. Oh, doesn't he like the short freestyle events? He is the defending champion here, the champion from Budapest. He won the Commonwealth Games as well, and he was just out of the medals at the Tokyo Olympics. Proud in 4.
Take your marks.
Proud away well, even start. Grousseau alongside him in lane number 3. Proud in the red cap coming up in front. Zabo on his left side at the moment as they turn. Proud in front. In fact, down there it'd be Matsui who turned just in front of Proud. Matsui in 6. Proud going through now. So too Zabo. This is going to be tight, but Ben Proud wins it from Zabo, and Grousseau in 3rd place. Benjamin Proud, 20.88. Well, it's a smart time, but it's not as quick as we saw earlier from Jordan Crooks.
Now there's Proud. Not the best start. We're normally used to seeing Ben Proud really fly off those blocks and be unmatched through the first 15 metres. He didn't even turn first, but it's almost like he back-ended that 50 freestyle, moved through on that second lap. 20.88. Here's the defending short course world champ and long course from Budapest this past summer. Proud, Sabo and Grousseau swimming well. Matsui had a few good relay swims so far at these championships, did Matsui. In the results summary, this is going to be tight.
20.36 for Crooks, and Carter 20.7. So the Cayman Islands and Trinidad Tobago with the two fastest times there. Chalmers with the 9th fastest time, 21.09. We've got 21.29 for Dusa of Slovakia. That will make it through to the semi-finals. 21.3 for Cheong from Singapore. Here's the first reserve.
Wow, 21.3 misses. De Boer's out of the semis. Grayson Bell of Australia there, 21.42 on the 3rd page. So, sprint swimming, largely I would say, due to the performance of Caleb Dressel more recently, it's really just lifted the bar in terms of power and underwater kicking, and seeing so many swimmers from different nations now go 20 seconds in the 50 and might be a new changing of the guard as well. What a performance from Crooks. 20.36. I think that puts him 4th or 5th fastest of all time.
Summer in Melbourne, and it's good that those who organise the weather have just realised that, because the cold snap we've had in the early part of the championships is just disappearing now. And well, Christmas is on its way. That means summer in Australia. The men's 4x200 metres freestyle heats coming up next. So we have, 2 heats? 2 or is it 3? 2 heats of the 4x2, and there's the lineup for the first of them: Spain, Korea, Brazil, China, Canada and New Zealand. World record at 6:46.81, set by Brazil in China at the World Championships in 2018.
Take your marks.
Away we go then. So Spain led off by Montalban, and then you've got Korea with Wang, Brazil with Kyoto, China with Pan, Canada with Gatsev, and New Zealand with Littlejohn. So we've got still in the second heat, you've got the United States in, they'll be in 4, they'll be up against Italy, Japan and Australia in particular. So there's some big name teams in semi-final 2. Here you'd expect Brazil and Canada and maybe Spain to really show out.
Yeah, again with these single gender relays with 2 heats, generally the top 4 from each will move through into big nations in the next one: United States, Australia and Italy. But in heat 1 here, that's Wang Sun-woo, the silver medalist from the World Championships this year in the long course 200 free, defending champion short course from Abu Dhabi. And he's no doubt going to get his team off to a strong start. Kim Woo-min as well, also 400 finalist from Budapest, will swim second. So Korea will be strong through the first 2 legs of this relay before the other nations start to chase him down. And we'll see if Huang's going to try and post an individual time that just to get his confidence up leading into his pet event, the 200, which will come on Sunday. New Zealand swimming in second position right now. That's Littlejohn having a good swim there in lane 7. The Canadians, China and Brazil also not too far away, but with this 4x200 free relay, obviously 800 metres in total, a lot can change over the course of just under 7 minutes. 141.9 there from Wang. Strong performance in the morning. Look at that lead from Korea. Kim has been swimming well at these championships. Just missed the 400 final a few days ago. Did a personal best in the 1500 as well. So I wouldn't suggest these countries could take too much ground off Kim. But after that, Kim's going to pass off to Lee Hoo-jun, 21-year-old teammate. And Yang will finish this relay off, who we saw moments ago in the 50 freestyle, but I'm not too sure how his endurance will hold up over the 200-meter distance. So Korea now, this is the 300-meter mark. That leads about 3 body lengths. Spain having a good one there in lane 2 as well. Currently in second position. They surprised a lot of people to qualify for the 4x100 freestyle relay final on night 1 of competition here in Melbourne. They've actually got a handy lead over those nations all bunched up in the middle of the pool, Brazil, China and Canada. So Spain, the Spanish men are surging again. Strong here. That's Mola-Yanes in the water. He will hand off to Dominguez and Gonzalez to finish this off in Brazil. Bruno Correa swimming in the water right now. He was a part of that world record breaking relay team 4 years ago. Correa and also Cole Santos, the swimmer who will swim 3rd for Brazil. He was on that team 4 years ago as well.
So we've reached the halfway mark of this first of 2 heats here. Brazil with Cole Santos. Korea it is who lead though with that lead of around about 4 lengths or so. It's Lee swimming this 3rd leg. In 2nd place, Spain with Dominguez. And Brazil holding down 3rd. After that, you would go back to in lane number 7, New Zealand. It's Cameron Gray in the water, Kissel of Canada and Chen of China. But this is a really handy break. Still a long way to go, of course. They've gone now, they'll be coming down towards the halfway mark of this 3rd leg shortly. So still a long way to go, but they've really set themselves up, the Koreans, here for what should be a pretty good heat win.
Yeah, they have 142.9 there for Kim. And Lee's looking nice in that water, 50.1 through that first 100 meters. So it's going to be difficult for anybody to chase them down. Spain there again, swimming well above themselves at this meet. Luis Dominguez trying to take ground off Korea and Brazil, the world record holders, moving through with a bit of work to do. That's Cole Santos in the water, and those 3 teams, just with the depth of the entry list here at these championships, top 3 should move through. Good battle for 4th. Look at that, the bottom of screen, 3 nations all in a row. That race for 4th will be important as we see Korea now coming down to the last changeover. That's Lee handing it off to Yang Jae-hoon, the lead. It's big, almost 4 seconds.
And there's no sign of that lead disappearing anytime soon. So it's the Koreans in front. In 2nd place, Spain. The margin officially is 3.5 seconds. Brazil in 3rd, then it's Canada, New Zealand and China. So the last leg swimmers here, Yang, Gonzalez, Yang of course for Korea, Gonzalez of Spain, Spazzari of Brazil, Clark of New Zealand, Knox Canada and Chen of China. And it's been a dominant performance here. Of course, the time's important. We've got 6 teams here and another 6 in the 2nd heat. Top 8 go through, so that will be at the forefront of the minds of all of these swimmers. Even if you can't win the heat, it's important to get a very good time to avoid being one of the 4 teams who won't make it through. Bulgaria, Australia, the USA, Italy, Japan and Hong Kong to come in the 2nd heat.
Yeah, he's in a little bit of trouble there, Yang. We saw him win his 53 heat probably less than 20 minutes ago with a big, powerful straight arm stroke, and it's a totally different technique there with that high elbow, a much slower stroke rate of freestyle. Gonzalez from Spain is taking a lot of ground off him. Not quite at his best here in Melbourne is Hugo Gonzalez, but he is doing his part for the Spanish team. With 25 to go, the lead's down to 1.6 seconds. Korea looking to hold on.
And I'm sure they will hold on here. It's been a big chase there from Spain, but Korea will win this heat in a time 6:45.24. Spain 2nd, and 3rd home it's going to be Canada, just in front then of Brazil. New Zealand 5th, and the final team home there is China. 6:55.24, the win set up in the first half of the race for the Koreans.
Yeah, really set up well from Hwang Sun-woo, the new Korean superstar. Had a great lead-off leg, 141.9, and Also, Kim Woo-min swimming superbly on that second leg. Yang there at the finish just started to tighten up, but the Korean team take out the first.
And in the end, the margin 1.5 seconds between Korea and Spain. Canada in third, just over the 7-minute mark. So the second and last heat of the 4x2 freestyle for men. And should be a good race, this. Australia in 3, United States in 4, Italy in 5. We would expect that trio to be in the top 3. Japan, with a team here of Watanabe, Mano, Matsumoto. That was Shua Matsumoto and also Katsuhiro Matsumoto. So they'll be good as well. United States, though, to be led off by Trent and Julian.
Take your marks.
Off they go with the United States in lane 4. Led off by Trent and Julian. They'll have Jake Mahaney swimming the second leg. Jake Foster and Drew Kibler. Australia there with Lewis and Southam and Swinburne and Smith. Bulgaria being led off here by Midson. That's the team over there in lane number 2. The Italians led off by Chiampi. Japan by Watanabe and Hong Kong by Chu.
Yeah, this will be an interesting race. You can see already all the teams performing strongly, especially the 5 on the top of screen. Bulgaria with a good lead off there from Mitsin. A long way to go is Julian, the butterflyer in the middle of the pool for the United States. We saw him last night in that 200 fly go out under world record pace and then really fade badly, which is a common theme in his 200 fly. But in his 200 freestyles, he does the complete opposite and he tries to negative split them. He tries to really back half these events and finish strongly, which is a much smarter strategy, generally speaking. And he does take over the lead here. He turned in 50.0, so that lap there, 26 lows. On track for a good split, Julian. Clyde Lewis from Australia, back on the Australian team, just falling back ever so slightly. So the United States, Japan, and Italy swimming well through this first 200 metres.
Perhaps not the order we would have necessarily expected, but of course, by 200 metres, the depth is so important, and that is illustrated more than in the shorter events. So even though teams may be up there early, they may not have strong third and fourth leg swimmers or wherever order they are swimming. So things can change pretty dramatically as it goes along. It's the United States still leading it. Mahaney, it is, who's swimming. Southam for Australia. They're back in about 4th at the moment, just behind Italy with Frigo and Mano of Japan, and Bulgaria really putting up a good showing earlier. Bratinov swimming the second leg.
Yeah, since the retirement of Phelps and Lochte for the United States, I've been saying it the last few years, one big split on this men's 4x2 can really win it for a team, and we've seen that from Great Britain, the Olympic champions last year. The United States got back on top in Budapest, and they are swimming well in the middle here. That's Jake Maga here, the 400 finalist from last night. Flynn Southam moving through for Australia in that gold cap. He was on the 4x50 free relay last night, that won gold, but he does prefer the 100 and 200 metre distances. So we'll see if Southam and Australia can take any ground off the United States. Japan also putting up a brave swim. That's Mano in the water right now. And they've got Katsuhiro Matsumoto swimming the 4th leg, so Japan are close. They will be dangerous on that last 200 metres.
United States, as we get down towards the 3rd leg swimmers here, and what a good finish that was by Southam of Australia. Australia up there almost challenging the United States. The USA now have Foster in the water, Swinburne of Australia, and then it's Rosette. In fact, it's Conti Bonnen from Italy. Japan with Shua Matsumoto And then you go across to Bulgaria, who are still there with Ivanov. So Bulgaria not to be dismissed lightly here. The race at the moment between the United States in 4 and the Australians, who are looking stronger in lane 3.
Yeah, that's Stuart Swinburne in the water for Australia, and Jake Foster for the United States, not to be confused with his brother Carson Foster, who's the individual medalist from these championships. And Contabonin from Italy moving up as well, a new face on the 4x100 freestyle relay team that did break the world record. So I would assume that Paolo Contabonin is capable of throwing down a big split. He does take over the lead now, the Italian team, in Japan also with a good turn there. So a nice little race developing. Bulgaria not far away. It is only the heats this morning. You've got to be safe on these changeovers. There's 5 teams here. There wasn't much action in Heat 1. All 5 should move through. But in comes to play just a little bit of competitiveness, a bit of ego. All the swimmers, all the teams, they will want to win. And Stuart Swinburne putting up a brave fight for Australia. United States falling back.
Yes, this is a 3-way go as we get to the 600-metre mark. So the final leg swimmers in there. And Italy officially in front of Australia by 6/100ths of a second. Bulgaria still there, and in the middle of that quartet is the United States, Japan and Hong Kong after that. But the last leg swimmers here for the Italians, it is Rossetti. Australia have Brendan Smith, Kibler of the United States, Yanchev of Bulgaria, and Katsuhiro Matsumoto of Japan, while Ung of Hong Kong will complete their relay. Really good racing here.
Yeah, Matsumoto from Japan, he's probably the most credentialed 200 freestyle swimmer, so looking dangerous there at the bottom of screen, making a move. Japan might lead with 100 to go. Italy there in the middle. Rossetti, he's an experienced racer now, but he doesn't normally find himself on this relay, so new territory for Rossetti. And the United States moving through. Drew Kibler getting some experience this morning. Hasn't raced too much in Melbourne, but he has got a really fast time in short course meters posted from a few months ago. Kibler looking strong, and the United States hit the lead again.
United States in second place, maybe Japan over Italy, tight between that pair, Japan over Italy, and then it's Australia, followed by Bulgaria and Hong Kong. So they've, in the last 2 laps here, they're about to turn to bring it home now, and the USA timing it really nicely. Kibler, strong in the last leg, is out by a full body length. In second place, Japan, and then Italy, and then Australia, as the United States bring it home, and they stop the clock at 6:53.63. The United States, so they will go in as probably the favourites to win the gold medal.
Yeah, the top 3 teams there, quicker than what we saw from Korea in the previous, so the top 4 teams, sorry. Australia back there in 4th. They will all safely move through, as we just see the team from Hong Kong finish it off. But exciting racing there in Heat 2. The United States, they do take it. There will be plenty of changes for the finals tonight. Kibler swam well on that anchor leg there. 141.9 for Kibler at the end. This was that was the last changeover. Kibler swam from behind, but he was the most dominant of those 4th and final leg swimmers. He'll be on that finals team tonight. The United States, they'll bring in Carson Foster, and Kieran Smith will move on to that team for sure. United States, Japan, Italy, and Australia in 4th. The Australian team should bring Carl Chalmers and Tommy Neal in there to make a competitive team of 4 boys.
So there we have the teams going through to the final, USA and Japan, Italy, Australia. So that's the way they finished in Heat 2. Korea, Bulgaria, Spain and Canada. So most of the majority of the teams in the final were coming out of Heat 2. Still plenty to come here on the 4th day of heats. We've got a swim off now. Now this is for the men's 50 metres backstroke. It was to be a three-way swim off. It's down to 2 now. We've got Hunter Armstrong, Javier Acevedo and Apostolos Christou. Acevedo has pulled out though, so we're down to 2. This will determine the 8th spot, the last spot in the final for the men's 50 metres backstroke. Christou and Armstrong. As initially it was going to this 3-way, it would have determined lane 8 and then the first reserve, which is important should there be a scratching, and then second reserve. But Acevedo's decided he won't play a part in it. Both recording times here, 23:05. Men's 50 back.
Take your marks.
And nothing between them at the start there. Christou and Armstrong, Greece and the United States.
Yeah, Armstrong's a long course world record holder. Look at the stroke rate he has. Really spins those arms nicely. Christou gets his feet on the wall first. Better underwater was Christou, but Armstrong moves through, trying to chase him down. It might be the swimmer in 4 on the touch. Apostolos Christou takes the swim off, 23.15. Wins it by 15 hundredths of a second. And he will find himself in the 50 backstroke final tonight, racing out of lane 8.
Well, he's had time to sleep on it and get a little bit nervous about it. It's a big difference, isn't it? A fraction of a second. You either swim a final and give yourself a chance of taking a medal, or you watch from the stands. So much hinging on such a short amount of time. There's the result. Christou 23.15, 23.30 for Hunter Armstrong. Christou goes in. Armstrong is awaiting a scratching, a withdrawal. Otherwise, he's watching. So we're going from the 50s to the longest of them all now. Women's 1,500 metres freestyle. We have 2 heats ahead of us here. These are known as the slowest heats, and the final this evening will be the fastest heat. And you would imagine that first, second and third will be gold, silver and bronze there, but they will take into account the times from these earlier heats. And things could change. Pretty unlikely. 1,500 metres, heat 1.
Take your marks.
So away we go. So there's plenty of swimming here with 60 laps for these girls. That is Lei Ung of Hong Kong. She's in lane number 3 there. You've got Juan Q of Chinese Taipei and Gabriella Dewey of Lebanon. Lanes 3, 4 and 5 for these girls. 60 laps. You can say it quicker than you can swim it, Bobby.
60 laps indeed. As you mentioned, we've got 3 swimmers in the water right now. And tonight in that fastest heat of the final, Lani Pallister will swim from lane 4 with her looking for her 3rd individual gold medal of the meet. Li Bingji was the fastest entrant coming into the competition, but has had to withdraw due to COVID, and we've seen a number of scratchings from the Chinese swim team as a few of their members have gotten sick, which is very unfortunate. And there's no real major prominent names in that fast heat tonight, is there?
No, they're not the names that we've come to recognise in the 1500 metres. Pallister is the standout there at 15:24. In fact, on times, Pallister is 26 seconds quicker than the next of them. That is later on. In fact, we can have a look at that during this race, but for the moment, let's just see how this race is unfolding. We've got Ung of Hong Kong as they have 54 laps to go now, so they've gone through 150. And in second place, it's Dewey of Lebanon. Ung is the youngest in the field. She's just turned 17. Dewey is the oldest. She's at the ripe old age of 23. And in between, a swimmer from Chinese Taipei, Q, who's a 17-year-old as well. Good lead this for Ung as she goes down to complete 200 metres now.
Yeah, the swimmer from Hong Kong, 52 laps to go. And you can just see underwater, doesn't quite turn and push off the wall smoothly as what we've seen from some of her more experienced competitors. She sort of hits the wall, stops for a fraction of a second before pushing off. But at 17 years of age, getting really good exposure to international racing here at these Melbourne World Championships. And she's got a big lead over the swimmer from Chinese Taipei. Three of them locked in a good battle right now. Sorry, the two of them. That's Q and Dewey. We did see these swimmers, a lot of these swimmers race the 800 freestyle. Oh, sorry, the 400 freestyle on day one, the 800 freestyle on day two, the 4x200 freestyle relay for a lot of the Americans and Australians, and then now the 1500 on day four. So a massive program for the distance swimmers squeezed into the first 4 days of competition. We'll see Pallister do all of those events, and then she's got the next 2 days off, and she can be a cheerleader in the crowds. But in the next heat, as we were just mentioning previously, with the lack of prominent names in the fastest heat tonight, in heat 2 this morning, following this one, 2 American swimmers, Kenzie McMahon and Jillian Cox. You would assume, as we see from the Americans in the unseeded heats, that they are capable of swimming significantly quicker than that and potentially medal-winning times this morning in heat 2.
That's the big query, isn't it? Whether these entry times are long course or short course times, because you've got Stephanie Hootman, who's been busy at the championships. Well, she comes in with a 16:42. Perhaps she's capable of swimming much quicker than that. And also Katja Fain of Slovenia. She's in lane number 4, and she's certainly had plenty of experience on the international scene. So this second heat really could be very, very interesting, and it could throw the cat among the pigeons in terms of the overall placings when they are combined after the fastest heat this evening, I should say. Yeah,
well, the fastest heat this evening, second fastest behind Pallister, is Tunsel at 15:50. There's 5 swimmers seated at 15:50. But again, with that long course to short course conversion, it's close to 30 seconds in this longer race. So if some of these swimmers in the next heat are entered on long course times, like the Americans are, they're going to go well under 16 minutes. They're going to go in the 15:40s. 15:40s probably will be good enough to get a medal tonight. 15:30s almost guarantee you a medal. So could be a little bit of excitement this morning in heat 2 of the women's 1500, as just coming up now to the 500 meter mark there for Ung, 5:32.07. So that's the first third of this race done. Judging off that, if she was to maintain this exact speed, she'd be looking at something around 16:36. That's going to be difficult to maintain this. Anything under 17 minutes would be a really strong swim, and her entry time is 17:21. So I'm sure all 3 of these swimmers in the first heat will be trying to crack the 17-minute mark.
non-swimmers would find the prospect of 1,500 metres pretty daunting. As a swimming coach, how do you find it with young swimmers? Are they keen to swim the 1500s and put in a lot of work, and just from an endurance factor get achieve something like that, or do you find that they are more inclined to gravitate towards the shorter distances, the sprints initially?
Yeah, I think at a younger age, there's a bit of a figuring out period about who you are as a swimmer and what your strengths and your weaknesses are. So definitely somebody that's hasn't got much experience in the longer events is going to be naturally scared and nervous about the long distance freestyle race. So it is important to gradually progress them up, start doing 100s and 200s. Once they start to figure out that sort of race strategy and the pacing, then the 400 and the 800. And there's not a whole lot of difference between the 800 and the 1500 from when you're an inexperienced racer about doing it. It's sort of just locking into a comfortable pace and making sure you count those laps. But obviously the higher level challenge them, especially the more talented ones. If they are winning the 50s at 10, 11 and 12 years of age, you don't want them to only race those events that they're good at. You want to let them grow and put them outside their comfort zone and do the 200 IM and the 200 freestyle and start to give them that exposure to the longer events, because that's better for their long-term development as a swimmer. And that's the main thing as a coach, I think, from my point of view, is making sure that you do the right thing by the swimmer on their journey, because especially at that young of an age, at 10, 11 or 12 years of age, potential. They've still got at least 5 years of swimming to go, potentially 10 years of swimming, potentially longer than that. So you're just on the cusp of that journey. And this whole, the way this sport engulfs you, it can be a very, very, very long journey in swimming. I'm still on this journey, just not as a swimmer anymore, but heavily involved. Can't escape the pool.
As a coach in Singapore, and I'm sure the kids are enjoying your input, your expertise, Bobby, as you embark on this part of your journey. Well, the girls in the water at the moment are on quite a journey. They've gone through the 1,000, now down to the 1,050. So 19 laps to go for the 3 swimmers in heat number 1. That is Lei Ung of Hong Kong, who has got this big lead. You can see the meterage there. It's close to 20 metres between first and second, and about another 5 metres away back to third place. In terms of time, she's around 13 and a half, a tick more than 13 and a half seconds. Ung over Q, and Dewey of Lebanon in third placing. So they're out chasing her. They're trying to stay with her, probably more to the point. She's got now 17 to go. They've gone through the 1,100. They would be counting down. It's harder to count down, I suppose. If you're going to swim, we talk about young swimmers. If you're going to swim the 1,500, you've got to learn to count as well. There's 60 laps here, but by the same token, they are being shown the lap counters at the top, and they can also see the laps indicated underwater.
Yeah, underwater lap counters here at these championships, but with a lot of the distance swimming characteristics, you get 2 types of distance swimmers. The one is that, probably like myself, super analytical, counts every stroke that they do, counts every kick off the wall, counts every lap, just locks into that pace and tries to be as consistent as they can, and, you know, likes to train those longer sessions, doesn't want to miss a lap, doesn't want to miss a time that the coach has given them. So that's one trait of a distance swimmer, and the other trait is to just swim and do what you're told, and stop when the coach tells you to stop, or stop when you hear the bell when it comes to the racing in the pool. So quite often they can be at both ends of the spectrum, and both have their advantages or disadvantages, and the lap counters in short course racing do definitely help just guide the swimmer in case they have lost counters. There are a lot of turns involved, but, you know, swimmers generally don't count laps when they race, they count meters. So
an entry time 17:21. So 17:21.71, and let's have a look at what the time is now. So she records 17:01.32. Well done to Lei Hua Yung of Hong Kong, this recently turned 17-year-old. Coming in second now, it is Julian Ku of Chinese Taipei and Gabriella Dewey of Lebanon, finishing her race in third place in 17:01.32, the winning time in heat number 1.
Yeah, really strong swim there for 20 seconds quicker than her entry time. 17:01 for the 17-year-old. And no doubt she'll be happy to take out a heat win at the World Championships.
And there is the result of the first of the heats. Those 3 swimmers from Hong Kong, Chinese Taipei and Lebanon. 17:01.32 for the winner. About to see the second of the heats now. The word is that Gan will be a non-starter from lane 2.
Take your marks.
So away we go here with Klara Bojnik of Croatia in lane number 1. Lane 2 is empty. From the Netherlands in lane 3, it's Amani de Jong. Slovenia represented in lane 4 by Katja Fain. The United States in 5 by Kenzie McMahon. Gillian Cox of the United States in 6, and Stephanie Koopman of South Africa in lane 7. It means we are now down to a field of 6. We had 3 in the first, which means that didn't quite all fit into the one heat using the 8 lanes. Sometimes, in fact often at World Championship swimming, they use lanes 0 and 9 for a 10-lane pool, and if that's the case, this would have been condensed into the one heat. It's not the case though.
It would have been nice. There's 4 empty lanes right now.
Yeah.
I think potentially someone in this heat, the winner of this heat, will be very close to the bronze medal tonight.
I think you're right.
I don't know who's going to win. There's 2 Americans that well back in the field right now. New names there, McMahon and Cox. Amani de Jong swam well in the 800 earlier in the program. The Dutch coaches are sitting in the stands, so this is an important one for de Jong. And Katja Fain, 21-year-old from Slovenia. We've seen her race plenty of times at the World Championships in the last 12 months. So I think this could develop into a pretty interesting race. We'll see how the first 500 meters or so goes. There's 2 different ways to break up the 1500 free. The easy one is into 3 500-meter segments. So just to try and build your effort and build your intensity after each 500 meters. You definitely don't want to be tired at the 500-meter mark. If you're tired or if you're heavy or hurting through that first third of the race, you're in trouble because there's still a long way to go after that. And the other strategy that I like to use was breaking it down to a 500, a 400, 300, 200, 100. So you obviously see that pattern, but really descending everything that you do from that point on, whether it's your stroke rate or how many breaths you're taking or how much legs you're using, but getting through that 500 as comfortable as you can, 400 meters a little bit stronger, and then building all the way through to that last 100-meter sprint.
So we watch these girls with 50 laps to go. 10 have been completed so far, and they're going stroke for stroke here. Lanes 3 and 4, De Jong and Fain. McMahon back in lane number 5 in 3rd placing. And then there's little between the other 3. Up there in lane number 1, it's Bojnik, and then Cox of the United States and Hoopman of South Africa. Lanes 3 and 4, though, the Netherlands and Slovenia at this stage. speak about the strokes. How many strokes generally would you be looking at per lap, and how would that change as you get into the last 200 metres perhaps, and you think, right, I've got to up the ante a bit here?
Yeah, I used to take 11 strokes a lap in the short course pool, and it would stay at 11 because when I wanted to speed up, I would just streamline longer underwater. So you might be going from 5 metres towards the end up to 10 or 12 metres underwater, but still keeping the same strokes, but obviously in a less distance per lap. So these swimmers in here, they'd be doing about 15 or 16 strokes a lap, I would think. And again, that count might only go up by 1 or 2, but it does give you a guide as to how much water you're holding, and also, you know, the rhythm of the breath depends on that stroke count as well, because you want to be breathing on that last stroke before you turn and push off the wall. So most distance swimmers do get familiar with their stroke counts, as we see them turn at the, I think that's the 400-metre mark, so 4:13 for all 3 of them. And McMahon looks to be moving the better of the swimmers right now. She's probably got the lowest stroke count of all 3 swimmers. She swims nice and long, not much kick there. They're all swimming very similar, aren't they? McMahon in that white cap, not so good out of her turn. She can't quite match it with Fane off that streamline. You see here they turn together. Fane in 4, she'll get about half a metre advantage off the push-off before McMahon comes up and swims her down. So the next split will be the important one as they come towards, this is the turn end, but once they get through to the dive end on this turn, that'll mark the first 500 metres, and we should get a good indication of what sort of splits that potentially these women can hold for the duration of the race.
At 500, McMahon has really made her move. She was, I reckon, about 3 or 4 body lengths away. It was between the swimmers in the middle lanes there, or in 3 and 4, I should say, De Jong and Fane. They were eyeballing each other, stroke for stroke they were going, and McMahon just put her foot down, and she's made her presence felt. About 50 metres ago, she made a 3 in a line, and now she's just spreading them out. So McMahon has really asserted her ascendancy here. Fane in second place, and De Jong is finding it hard to keep up with them as well. After that, you go down to lane 6, the second of the Americans in Cox, and Hoopman and Bojnak.
Yeah, the culture of distance swimming in the US is to really even pace the whole swim. So you can see McMahon was nowhere near the 2 leaders in the first 200 metres, but she's locked into that pace. She's actually just picked things up at that 500-metre mark and opened up a lead of almost 3 seconds over Katja Fane. So McMahon's going to be the swimmer. She's got eyes on a medal with that fastest heat tonight. The second fastest entry time tonight is 15:50. And judging by what McMahon's doing right now, she's going to be under 15:50, I'd say, and maybe even closer to 15:45 or 15:40, which will put a bit of a scare through the 8 finalists coming up in a few hours' time. So Kenzie McMahon having a really good swim. That was a last 50 there of 31.2. So she's really consistent with those 102 splits now after just conserving energy at the early part of the race. Look at her go.
Yeah, she's really made a big break on them now. 32 laps to go, and she has gone through in 7:22.13. So she'll be at the halfway point as after she turns at the far end and brings it back here. So this is a really good performance by the American, Kenzie McMahon. She's 23 years of age. She had that entry time, 16:16.22. And she leads it now by almost 5.5 seconds over Fane and De Jong. Now she's at the halfway point. So 30 laps have gone and 30 to go. 7:53 through the first half. And as we speculate about the sort of time she might swim, just a look once again at who will be going in what is known as the fastest heat or quasi-final this evening. And Pallister of Australia, who's already won the 4 and the 800 metres, looking for the treble here. She'll have lane 4, and certainly on entry times, she's 26 seconds quicker than Tunsil of Turkey. And then you go back another second or two to Utan of Turkey and Zhang of China. So the query is, though, how many of those are long course times, but we do know that Pallister's in great form. But more importantly, from this heat's point of view, Kenzie McMahon is really putting herself in contention for a medal. You mentioned bronze, you never know, it could even be silver. Well, it could be gold for that matter, but Pallister is the standout in the field.
Yeah, she really is. Pallister, 15:24, she swam at the Australian Nationals back in August, which was only 6 seconds over the world record at the time, which stood at 15:18 to Sarah Kohler. And I thought, come Melbourne, she could go close to that world record, which would have been a huge achievement. And then, of course, Katie Ledecky, who doesn't frequently swim short course meters, she raced on the World Cup Tour this year and took 10 seconds off that world mark. 15:08.24 she swam. So I'm sure Pallister can swim a personal best time. I wouldn't imagine she'll go close to the world record. But back to the action, as you mentioned, McMahon coming up to the 950 here. The next 75 metres, that'll give us a real indication about what sort of pacing she's holding through the second 500 metres of the race. But her first 100 metre split from the dive was 103.2. And since then, she's been holding 102s and 103. So pretty much locked into that pace right from the beginning, even though at the beginning that comes really, really easy and really smoothly, and the energy is so low. She's increased that output to maintain those 103 splits, and she's still swimming right on that time, 103.2 for that last 100 meters. So this is the 1,000, 10:32. So she's gone 5:16, 5:16. So if she can do that again, she's going to be at 15:48, which would give her the second fastest time before tonight's fastest heat. And I'd imagine she'd be able to sprint home a little bit more at the end of this race and try and get under 15:45, which will be a really strong swim.
Well, in terms of the time, the margin is about 10 seconds. In terms of the distance, it's around about 18 metres between McMahon and Fain. And then in third place, you've got to try to keep up with it. Cox has moved up into fourth. Third place should be De Jong. Certainly the margin there between De Jong and McMahon is about 15.6 metres. So it's a big, big lead as far as McMahon's concerned. And she'd be counting down those, well, the laps or the hundreds, whichever way she wants to do it. She'd be know exactly where she is in terms of this race. She's got around 400 metres to go, just under 400 to go, and it's been a strong performance by the American. One of two Americans in this field.
Yeah, there she is, holding the length off the walls, just getting into that rhythm, only breathing to her right. We won't talk about breathing patterns again, but we know the Americans like to breathe to their right side, and breathing every 2 strokes as well is Kenzie McMahon. So she's not going to be challenged in this heat. She will have one eye on the clock. Well, her coaches will have an eye on the clock. She seems to have an automated body clock, just locked into those 103 splits, dropping off a little bit there across that last 50 metres. That was a 31 high, so almost creeping into the 104s per 100. So she's going to need her coaches and teammates over in the stands to just try and give her a bit of encouragement. This is where the race becomes more of a mental battle, all right, here at the 1200.
Well, she's got less than 300 to go now. McMahon of the United States. And she's really kicked on since about the 400-metre mark when she was back in third place. Fane, De Jong, and then it's Cox. And then we'd go back to the other two, Hootman and also Wozniak. 10 laps to go, 250 metres in this second of two heats of the women's 1,500 metres freestyle, the fastest heat to come this evening. But just maybe, Kenzie McMahon, if they had a full seeding of times, maybe she would have found herself in that fastest heat, because she could yet be swimming for a medal here without being aware of it.
Yeah, I'm sure they would have been semi-aware of what's at stake. I just don't know the names in this fastest heat, so pretty hard to determine if they're going to be under or over those entry times. But McMahon definitely throwing her name and time into the mix. Medals on the line early this morning here in Melbourne. She dropped off that last 100 metres. It was a tick over 104. Now she's picked it up again. Now she's got 150 metres to go, so she can smell the finish line. Her coaches would have indicated that. She's got lap counters on top of the water, under the water, and a little bit more legs coming into play now for Kenzie McMahon.
So we'll watch her now with 125 still to swim. 5 laps here. Just looking at that Ledecky world record she set in Toronto back in late October. 15:08.24 it was, 15:08.24. So I'll let you know when Ledecky would have finished her race.
Right about at this turn.
Yeah, about this turn. She is just an amazing swimmer, isn't she, Katie Ledecky? As you mentioned, doesn't swim short course championships all that often. So they've gone through now. It'll be around about now. There it is, 15:08. So that's where Ledecky would have finished. And that's around about, about 60 metres clear. 60 metres, and that's, 2 and a bit laps clear of where McMahon is at the moment.
Yeah, there's the bell. We'll see what McMahon can sprint home. You can see her kicking a lot more at this point in the race than she ever has before. She needs to get moving here if she wants to get under that 15:50, which will be in the important milestone that she's chasing. Here she goes, McMahon.
So McMahon on her way home, and she records a time here, 15:49.15. 15:49.15. Will that be enough for a medal? It might just be. We will find out later this evening when we have the fastest heat. Coming home now, Cox will take second place, and third will be Fane. So Cox swam a strong second half, or last third of the race, to move up a spot. De Jong fourth.
Yeah, good finish for Cox. First and second for the Americans. Again, really back-ending these distance freestyle races. McMahon, unbelievable splitting. She's gone 5:16, 5:16, 5:16 for the 3 500-metre splits. Just adding up the tenths, gave her a time of 15:49. Both girls very happy there. Rewarded with big personal best times in Heat 2 of the women's 1500.
Well done, Kenzie McMahon. She's very happy with that, isn't she? I'd be happy to finish, let alone the time. She's certainly got more expertise at this than I'll ever hope to have. Really
there
good
she
swim.
is. Yeah, really good swim. Just unbelievable pacing. You can imagine she must be an absolute machine at training, at just holding those times. Well controlled through the first 100 metres. Did not drop off at any point in the race. And she gets rewarded. McMahon, Cox and Fane.
Yes, 15:49, the only swimmer under 16 minutes there, Kenzie McMahon, in the 1,500 metres freestyle. Got another swim-off coming, Bobby. It's in the 1,500. No, just tricking. Slowest heats here, Kenzie McMahon, Gillian Cox, Katja Fain. And there we go. So that's the accumulated result there of those two heats. McMahon may have done enough to secure a medal. Yes, we've got a swim off here in the men's 50 metres freestyle. So this must be for the 16th position, the last spot.
First reserve it is.
Oh, it's for first reserve. I couldn't remember having a question mark among 16. So the question mark was there between 17, 18 and 19. So it depends who becomes first reserve here. So we've got Zaitsev, Charuti and Simmons, Estonia, Israel and the Netherlands. Okay, so it's Zaitsev, Charuti and Simmons here, and in the blue, Zaitsev. In fact, Simmons got the best of the starts as they get down to the halfway mark. It's Simmons in lane 5. Probably in front, though. It's Zaitsev, Daniel Zaitsev of Estonia. This is going to be tight. Zaitsev, I reckon, will get there. It's on the touch, and Simmons just touched him out, the Dutch swimmer. So Simmons wins the swim off here.
21.28 for Kenzo Simmons. He's the world junior record holder, in fact, at 20.9 from a couple of years ago. And he improves on that heat swim from this morning. 21.33, the swimmers tied in. That was Zaitsev on the left. He featured in a 50 fly swim off a few days ago. So Zaitsev, the swim-off specialist, he won that fly swim-off to get into the 50 fly final. On this occasion, he gets second. And Simmons is going to be first reserve for the semi-finals tonight, as they tied for 18th this morning. And somebody has withdrawn, so that was the race for official 17th or first reserve position.
Okay, so there's the result there. It's been a great morning, Bobby. We've had the short ones, in fact, the mixed freestyle relay, right up to the women's 1500.
Yeah, the 4x50 is really exciting, and the French, they qualified fastest for that final. They got Manadou and Grousseau. They're going to be very front-loaded tonight in that one. Kate Douglas, wasn't she smooth in the women's 200 breaststroke? 2 seconds over world record this morning, an event that we don't normally see her compete in. The Americans, Douglas and King, are going to find themselves in the middle lanes tonight of that women's 200 breaststroke final. And the men's race, two Japanese also racing in the men's 200 breaststroke. Daiseto racing this event for the first time at World Championship level. Normally accustomed to watching him race fly and IM. But Seto and Fink will battle it out for the gold in the men's 200 breaststroke. And we saw the splash and dash. Katarina Wasik from Poland. A strong heat swim this morning, but not as strong as this man, the breakout sprint star of these championships, Jordan Crooks. Look at him, 20.3 this morning. He swam superbly to be the fastest qualifier in the men's 50 freestyle. A lot of swim-offs as well. Christou getting the last spot in the 50 back final, which will happen tonight.
Yes, we've got a lot happening tonight. In fact, Bobby, we've got, we'll start with that mixed 4x50 freestyle final, 200 breast for women and then the men. We've also got the 50 metres backstroke finals, semi-finals in the 50 free for men and women. Overall, we have 8 gold medals to be decided and semi-finals in 2 events. The last of the finals, that men's 4x200 metres freestyle. And we look forward to all of that. Hope you've enjoyed heat swimming on day 4 of the 16th FINA World Championships. This is where we are, the Melbourne Sports and Aquatic Centre. We can't wait for the finals this evening. Please join us then.